Hey guys, hope you all have been well. Welcome back to my channel. So this is gonna be probably like a tattered string of videos because I'm not sure if I'm gonna do them one after the other, but I will definitely keep them close together. And that is gonna be just a blush series. So what I'm gonna do for today to start us off is to get my Nars blushes, I know, and I'm gonna do some cheek swatches, much like I did with my MAC videos. I think those did very well. So I'm assuming that content on blush and having it applied on my cheeks so that you get a better view of what it looks like on the actual skin as opposed to just like that. I'm thinking that's what people are wanting. So what I should do first is show you the palette, and 2 out of the 8 in here are no longer available on Nars, but I won't be swatching them on my cheeks. I don't want to do that to you. That's very mean. But just so that I point them out, this shade here is Gilda, and that is discontinued. And this one is Douceur, and this is discontinued. But every other shade I did check on the Nars website, and they are still available. The only thing that is worth mentioning is that Madly is currently out of stock. Now, I don't know if they have it at Sephora or Macy's or any other places that sell Nars, but I wanted to go directly to the Nars website to make sure that these were still available. So if you want to see my Nars blushes swatched on my cheeks, I hope you decide to stay tuned. We're gonna get straight into it. All right, so our first shade swatched on my cheeks here is the shade Gina, and this is a matte formula. The best description that I can give you, and I did swatch it just to like make sure that I'm giving you the right information. This is pretty much exactly the same shade as Peaches from MAC. MAC Peaches happens to be one of the most well-known blushes I think out there. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have at least heard of MAC Peaches, and Nars's Gina is like, it's so close, like you couldn't even tell. But what I think the most important thing to notice, and you can, you know, if you have access to a Sephora or any place that sells both MAC and Nars, what you can do is swatch them and see just how much more silkier Gina is in compared to Peaches. Peaches is buttery. It is so pigmented from MAC, but this is like silk. It is a different feeling when you swatch it. When you apply it, it just hits different. I think if I had to pick between the two, I honestly would go with Gina. So here it is again on my cheeks. I did do a heavier swatch with this one. I'm not sure if my lighting's gonna, you know, wash out the color a little bit, but this is what it looks like. Just a stunning color. Moving on to our next blush, we have the shade Torrid here, and this has those kind of specks of glitter or pearl. I'm not quite sure how Nars describes it. However, what I do notice from Nars is that if they say shimmering, that means the blushes is more of this finish, kind of that sheeny glow. So if a blush is noted as a shimmering peach or shimmering pink, what you're expecting to see are those types of shades. Now, if it says shimmering pink with, anything that comes after with is basically those tiny glitter particles. The one in this is pretty well blended into the blush, and the specks in here happen to be gold, whereas the overall shade color, it's a very warm pink. I think that shade like this is definitely more geared towards people who have, I would say, medium or tan skin, moving into deeper shades, because Nars blushes happens to be one of my favorite formulas ever. So if you're about medium to, I would say, medium deep, and could possibly be into the deep category, this is such a pretty warm pink shade with just a tiny bit of that sparkle. So here it is on my cheeks. Moving right along, we have Liberte. This is a matte shade, and I think out of every single blush that I own, this shade here I would describe as a like reddened rosy shade. Basically, when you get very cold and your cheeks start to get really rosy, that's basically what this shade's gonna be. I would say if you have deeper complexions, definitely check this blush out. Now on my cheeks here, I had to go very light-handed. With these two other blushes, I kind of went a little bit more ham with it, and even then that was a little too much. But with this shade here, I definitely had to be a little bit more careful with how much I applied. I basically just tapped my brush in twice and then really buffed it into my cheeks, and I still got a lot of color payoff. As I mentioned, it is a matte formula, but I find that with Nars blushes, maybe I'm wrong, but even their matte formulas still have like the subtlest bit of sheen, almost like it was a mineralized blush and a matte blush or powder blush combined. That's sort of like their baseline in my opinion. So deeper complexions, I would say like medium tan to deeper complexions, this is going to be like a no-brainer. It's going to look beautiful on your cheeks. But if you are below that complexion, then I would just be very mindful of how much you're going to apply on your cheeks, because it can go very bright very fast. Moving on to the next row, we have the shade here in Amor. This is a matte shade, and this is a true rosy color, whereas Liberte, I explained, it was more of like a reddish rosy color. This is pretty much a true rosy color. And if you haven't heard me say it before, Amor is one of my favorite Nars blushes ever. I have owned Amor probably the longest, if I'm not mistaken. I used to have Super Orgasm, and I know that that was probably my oldest blush, and then maybe Deep Throat, which is going to be our next shade. And if I'm looking at my blushes based on the indentations that I have, I mean, obviously these are cracked, so they don't count. But Amor probably has the deepest indentation in terms of how much I use it, because I love the way that it looks on my skin. It just suits my skin tone so well. It's so easy to apply. I never go overboard with it, and it blends like a dream. If you were to ask me my recommendations for Nars blushes, Amor would be one of the ones that I highly recommend. I just love the way it looks on the skin. Like it's such a no-brainer shade for me. I can put it on with any single eye look and it's gonna look really good. We are nearing the end. My cheeks are starting to get irritated, but we have two more to go. So the next one here is Deep Throat. I hate the name of this blush. I've spoken about it in makeup marketing that I can't stand, and I hate when it's like explicit language or it's just over sexualized. I don't get it, but anyways, this shade here is the example of a shimmering pink with blank whatever. So the formula itself is a shimmer shade, so it does have this shimmer quality like Mattely has, but it also has those specks in it. Different to Torrid here, this is a little bit more golden, but golden champagne, if that makes sense. Sort of like if you mixed pearl with gold. That is the reflect that you're going to get in this blush. Now this is a true pink. Torrid here definitely has a lot of warmth in it. You can see it in the undertone, and it's also a bit darker, whereas Deep Throat is what I think Orgasm should be. Now hear me out. I know that Orgasm is Nars's best blush, but I don't think that it applies as well. This might just be me, unpopular opinion, but Deep Throat is by far a way better blush than Orgasm. If you hate Orgasm, you don't understand the hype, maybe it's turned you off to the idea of trying other Nars blushes, don't do it. Deep Throat is what Orgasm should have been. Deep Throat is where it's at. That sounds horrible. This is why I hate these names. But here you have it on the cheeks. It's so much better at application. Orgasm, sometimes you have to build it up so much that you get frustrated, whereas this builds up very nicely. And I have tan complexion, so people who have lighter complexions to me can definitely wear it. And I would say up to a medium tan, like on my skin you can see it, and I'm about an NC 35 to NC 37, so if you want a natural looking blush, I might push it up to an NC 42. Nars, stop with the Orgasm and start pushing this one. The last blush in this video is going to be Mattely. Again, it is currently out of stock on the Nars website. You can check other websites to see if it's available, but it is still part of the line. Now this is the lightest blush that I own, and it's also very neutral. When you look at this, you kind of see a little bit more of that cool tone. Everything else is a bit warm, whereas this is like smack down the middle, and it is a brown shade. I think it's described as a neutral pink or a brown pink. However, the pink in it is very subtle. You kind of have to have it against other blushes to see the pink in it, but if you look at it just initially, it just looks like a standard neutral blush. And that is what I love about it. Now on my complexion, I don't know if you'll be able to see quite as well as I see it in my mirror here, but it is so subtle on my cheeks, and I love that it doesn't pull a certain way. It doesn't look cool and it doesn't look warm, so anything that I put on my eyes will suit it. Now this is a blush that barely shows up on my skin. It's an everyday blush. Even if I were to just buff this 1,000 times over, it will never look too pigmented for my complexion. So again, if you're about an NC35 to NC37, maybe even an NC40, this will show up on your cheeks, but it's going to be a very light and subtle blush on you. This is the shimmer formula. So you can see on my cheeks, it's a little bit more apparent. You can definitely see more of that glow. If I remember correctly, Madly didn't get the well-deserved credit that it was due until later. So when all the Nars blushes came out, we knew about Amor, we knew about Deep Throat, we knew about Orgasm, Torrid. Madly didn't make it up the ranks until a little bit later, and now I think it's probably one of those blushes that many people own in their collection because it's so easy to wear. So there you have it, very subtle on the cheeks, and when I turn, you can probably tell, like sometimes it looks like it disappears. All right guys, there we have it. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope you enjoyed this cheek swatch party of my Nars blushes, all of which that made an appearance on my cheeks are still available from Nars. Let me know what you guys think of this video. I'm thinking I might do my Tom Ford blushes. That might be a short one, but I might want to do a separate swatch party for that. I just want to make sure that all of them are still available, and then for the rest, what I'm thinking of doing is separating them into color families and then swatching them accordingly because they're just a jumble of different brands. But yeah, you guys know I love blushes, so this is an exciting video for me to do. I swatched 6. My cheeks are getting pretty irritated right now, so I'm gonna get this makeup off. But if you're interested in this entire makeup look, check me out on Instagram. It'll be the first link in the description box down below, where I post a photo of all my makeup looks along with all the products in the caption. Till the next video, I hope you all are doing well, taking great care of yourselves. I will see you all next time. Bye guys.